Today I wanted to talk about the number 5. I really have been pondering over the number 5 a lot lately, and really I guess the thing that came up for me was like I felt like what numerology was telling me was very different to what the tarot was telling me for 5, and this was where I hit like a crossroads there, and I've managed to sort of work that out now where it all sort of aligns much more smoothly, because I don't like it when stuff doesn't line up for me. So it's like, oh, numerology says the 5 means this, but the tarot says the 5 means that. I know that they are meant to work together, so I managed to find a way where I was able to succeed in feeling like, yep, they're lining up for me now. I am a life path 5, and I'm pretty sure it is the only 5 in my numerology chart, but your life path number, it's sort of, I wouldn't say your life purpose, but it is the number which really sets the direction you should be heading with your life, or the way that you should be approaching your life in that 5 manner. It is your life path number, so it's the path that will always take you to your highest good, will take you in the right direction when you're able to take your life path direction. And if mine being a 5, it was always quite difficult to accept that, because it is quite a chaotic number. It is actually one of the seen in like Vedic astrology as a very lucky number. Things normally come easy to 5. Core sort of keywords for 5 when it comes to numerology would be adventure and opportunity, movement and progression. Basically it's change as well, I would say, is also a key word. If you don't have that number 5, then when is that shift going to happen? When is that change going to come in? Where is the excitement and the adventure going to come? And it just helps that come in. But what also comes in with excitement is, what's a very similar energy to excitement is anxiety and stress and upheaval. You know, like change is upheaval, change is the unknown, so it can come with those negative aspects. And there is where, leading on to the tarot, I felt like, wow, like 5 in the tarot is very much focused on the negative aspects of 5 energy, where like in general 5 is a really positive number. People who have that 5 energy are normally quite happy-go-lucky, take it as it comes, easy-going, get along with most people. They're similar with that Leo energy, and then it makes sense that the Leo rules the 5th house, because it's that 5 energy. Leo is like the most likable sign. It's hard to not get along with a Leo, just as it's hard to not get along with a 5, because they are that easygoing energy. But at the same time, it's that change energy, it's that shift energy, that energy that can cause upheaval, can cause upset, can cause anxiety and stress. So how does that work together? Well, of course, it's the yin and the yang. It's the scale of things, you know, it's the polarity of each number does come with its pros and cons. Or it's not that I even see it as pros and cons, it's that it is just the nature of the reality we are in here on the physical realm. 5 really is a very sacred number for sure. Like, you can see that alone for the way that it shows up in many different forms. So if you have the pentagram or the pentacle, I should have got a pentacle out. Ooh. Just quickly find, there we are. So if you see the 5-pointed star on the pentacle, here you can see there's the 5 showing up in a positive way. It's on the pentagram and on the pentacle, which is manifestation of the physical realm, is the earth element, is the pentacles. So also when you think about the pentagram, for me, I take this as, we have here, so all the elements, air, fire, water, earth, and then we have spirit. And we can also take this, like the 5-pointed star. I've also heard that you can look at it like it's a man. This is the human man, yeah? So it's like its arms, its legs, and its head, yeah? And when it is facing up like this, the head is connected straight to spirit, and then the feet are grounded into the earth, yeah? And then when it is reversed like this, then you will see the head is not facing up towards spirit, it is into the earth, which means that it's sort of lost in, it's disconnected from spirit basically. It's lost in his senses, in his desires, lost control of his own senses in a sense, and he's given into them. You can also look at 5 for being the 5 senses. So you have touch, taste, sight, hearing, and smell. And then that's another connection here with the pentagram, in my opinion, because it's like when it is reversed, it is giving into those desires, those senses, but it's those senses that make us human here. It's those senses that make us experience this physical realm. So again, the 5 is holding a connection here from between spirit and the physical realm, because it's us experiencing our senses, which is a major part of being here in the physical. And I think that's why you see it also represented in these other non-5 cards, is that you can see here on the Ace of Cups, it is 5 streams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 streams coming from the cup. And these 5 streams are coming from the cup and landing into the water below. And this, I think, is representing that connection again with the 5 senses. That's what I'm saying, is here they didn't have to put 5 streams in. There's 5 streams for a reason. So again, 5 coming up is very important, and I believe to represent either all the elements and then spirit, and to represent also our 5 senses here that make us experience this physical realm. And then here, obviously on the star card, you can see straight to the eye that 8 is a very important number here, because you have the 8-pointed star and 8 of them. But if you look very close, you can see here, so she has 1 jug of water that she is pouring. So I got a massive burn there, excuse that. So here you can see she has a massive jug. You can see she has a jug of water here pouring into the water, the pool of water, and another jug of water here pouring onto the earth. Because this is representing the spirit realm, the subconscious mind, and here we are representing of the conscious mind. And when we are in the conscious mind, we are of course here in the physical, yeah, using our conscious mind. So as you can see here, where she's representing pouring her water onto the earth, the physical realm, representing the conscious mind, you have 5 streams coming off, yeah. So it's like the 5 senses, and also the elements plus spirit. So I think you kind of get what I'm saying. It's a very sacred number, and it has a very deep connection with us actually being here in the physical and how we've manifested here. So it's not just all negative, because I will move on in a little bit to the minor arcana, because you see all these cards are very negative. They look negative just to look at the images, you know. and they're not people's favorite cards to get. And when you think like, wow, that's such a amazing, sacred, important number 5, like it's kind of hard to understand, like why would it be come across like this in a tarot, but I will get into that. We also have number 5 in the major arcana, of course, is the Hierophant. And this really ties in really well with what we were saying about how 5 is representing the physical manifestation of spirit. So what is better than a Hierophant or a priest type or the leader of a spiritual place? Someone who has devoted their life to connecting with spirit and sharing that and guiding others towards the light. So it is like that upright pentacle, you know, energy again, where it's pentagram more than a pentacle, sorry, but you know, you get what I'm saying. It's that similar kind of energy where he is tuned into spirit and his 5 senses are still down here in a physical form. He's grounded down here in the physical form with his 4 elements, and he's connected. And when we have all the 4 elements, it's like the magician. Can I find the magician card? Yes. So on the magician card, you see he has all the elements, and this is a 1. And I will do a video if you want me to, or if I want to, I don't know. I might do a video on all the numbers. So this is 1, so I'll probably do a number on 1 at some point. But you can see here, he has everything he needs in the element sense. He has the cups, the pentacles, a sword and a wand. And he's like, you know, ready to manifest whatever he desires into the physical form. Here in the Hierophant, you can see that he's like mastered that, and he's now able to teach others and guide others. And it really is about having really mastered and controlled. That's the higher octave, I would say, of the 5, is this where you're able to really master and control this balance, because you are that middle number as well. If you think it's the middle number from 1 to 10, it is sort of that. I would also say that 5 is like the end of a cycle at the same way that a 10 is the end of the cycle, because if you can see that it's pushing for change in the same way, it's like, okay, something needs to shift, something needs to change when it comes to the minor arcana, that is, anyway. Something that I forgot to mention that I've realised now in editing is that people would generally go to a Hierophant type or like a spiritual teacher of some kind because they are seeking change in their life. They're seeking for things to be different. Maybe they're at a crossroads, and that again would represent the 5 energy, and the Hierophant is there to guide that change, that balance. And with the Hierophant, I just think it really does represent having mastered those traits, having mastered that need to indulge too much in your senses, understanding that balance of the 5, not to be overruled or controlled by our senses, which obviously the Hierophant represents really well in that 5 energy. And then obviously the Temperance is 14, and that makes a 5 as well. So it's all about balance, just like I was saying with the Hierophant. It represents like, I've mastered this balance of the number 5. I have perfected my connection with spirit and my connection with the physical realm. I know now, you know, that deep knowing, that all-knowing truth that the Hierophant has and that we can learn from, so much so that they've mastered having their own place of worship and stuff, you know. So it's that kind of archetype that like the Hierophant is like a sage in a way, like in the olden days when people would go to these people because they have that ultimate wisdom, they have that all-round experience. And that's why I feel like the 5, it really represents that all-round experience, and that does mean change. And when I say it's like the end of a cycle, it's because the end of a cycle is a call for change. Fives can bring about new beginnings, but also bring about ending of what's not serving any longer, you know. And it is like a challenge as well, because it's more challenging, I think, than a 10, because it is much more of a dynamic sort of energy, in my opinion, where more of that midpoint and you're still learning. Whereas the 10, we're moving on more to like a complete kind of cycle, and especially if we're thinking in the pentacle realm. So with the Temperance, like I was saying with the Hierophant, having that balance, and this card is all about sort of balance and being able to not overly indulge in our senses, and to really hold that higher octave, that higher perspective. The last thing that I forgot to mention about the Temperance card is that if you look closely, you'll notice that one of her feet is in the water and one of her feet is on the earth, on the ground. The water representing the subconscious mind or the superconscious even, and then of course the earth representing the physical realm and the conscious mind. Okay, so moving on to the minor arcana. I'll start in the order. Here you have the Five of Swords, and this is probably one of my least favorite cards because of betrayal and that having been defeated, and that's not a nice feeling, of course. But what this also shows us is that there's nothing more here. And when we're thinking of swords, we think of air and it's thoughts and communication. So it's saying that what you're trying to fight here, what you're trying to hold on to, why? You need to let it go, and you need to, maybe if that means being defeated, be defeated, but you do need to move on. You need to walk away. You need to let go. That's again, we're talking about the change in and the shifts that come with the fives, because the 5 is really asking you to progress, advance, and we always can get to these stuck points, and especially with our thoughts, like in our minds, in the way that we're thinking. Like the 5 is really calling you to question within yourself, like, what can I change here? I seem to be thinking like the victim, you know, because you could also be feeling like you're the victim. Oh, I'm thinking I'm the victim all the time, and how is that serving me? It's not serving me. Maybe I am not keeping a balance with my senses either, so maybe you're thinking for revengeful thoughts and stuff like that, which I feel like this character could betray. And it's saying also just like maybe just need to walk away from those thoughts, it's like you're holding on to swords that aren't serving you anymore. And again, it's letting go and releasing those thoughts, releasing that revengeful thinking or that victimizing, like, oh, I feel like a victim thinking isn't going to serve anyone for very long. So if you are stuck in that, then the 5 is actually what it's calling you out on that, but it's also pushing for you to change that, to shift that, because we must remember that the tarot is not so much a form of future telling and stuff. It's more a form of advice and seeing the energy that you're in right now, and how can you work with that and shift that energy so that you can get back onto your path, back on to your purpose here. Then we would move on to wands, and here you can see that there's just like a bunch of guys fighting with their wands, like hitting their batons together, and they're just sort of disagreeing. Like maybe it's representing that, okay, I'm getting to a point here with the people around me where I'm having to either bend to appease them, or they have to bend to appease me, and it's causing friction in the connection within the relationship. Also we're thinking wands, so we're thinking like our passion, our drive, and our enterprise. So this could be maybe you need to make a shift here, maybe you need to work with different people, maybe you need to confront the fact that, you know what, I don't feel like I really want to go in the same direction as the people that I've been on this journey with. So that's another thing where the 5 is, I feel like it's like a midway point, but that midway point is at the end of a mini cycle. So you can always think when you get the 5, it's like, well, what, like, am I at the end of a cycle? And this would be with the wands, like, yeah, like, I don't know if I really want the same things that I wanted before, and maybe I need to seek out new opportunities, maybe new things to light me up, because I find myself just bickering over things that don't really matter. And it's also like that masculine kind of energy, so anything that you're sort of using your masculine energy toward, which would be to sort of seek out in the world. So it's like, what are you seeking out? Because it feels like maybe you're hitting dead ends, so you could feel like, well, maybe I need to turn around what I'm seeking here. Obviously with the other people, it's questioning, like, maybe I just need a break from the people I've been moving with or the people I've been approaching. Maybe I need to sort of go my own path here, start again in a way. The next one would be the Cups, and this is a very heartbreaking card, you know. And you can see that he's focused on the 3 cups that he's lost, and he's not focused on what he has. So again, this is representing our intuition, our emotions, and our relationships, our intimate relationships with people. And here, obviously, it can represent the end of a significant relationship in your life. Of course, I do think this card sort of represents that even more so than the 3 of Swords. I think the 3 of Swords is very painful when it comes to relationships. Something painful has happened, but this is more like a grief kind of sad, and it can also be like the loss of someone here in the physicality and they've moved on. But it is that grief feeling, that sad feeling, and that again comes with change. If you think about it, we can be so excited about change, we can be so optimistic and knowing of the abundance that change is going to bring, but it doesn't stop that sinking feeling that you often get with change also, where it brings in a bit of anxiety and a bit of sadness for what you're leaving behind. But that's why we need the 5. That's why we need to experience the uncomfortable feelings of the 5, because when you are able to release what is no longer working, what is no longer serving, here on you are able to focus back on new things, new opportunities, new pathways, new relationships and connections, new emotional pathways. We're talking about the Cups here. You have to go through those shifts. Those painful experiences will bring shifts and changes for the better. So it's such a reward to know is coming from the pain, and that is one thing that can be very difficult to remember, and it can make us very fearful of getting 5s in readings, because obviously the 5s represent quite big change, big shifts in your life, and it represents sort of how uncomfortable that can be, because it, especially in the 5 of Cups here, you know, when we're talking about matters of the heart, there's nothing more painful than going through breakups and moving on from significant others. Like, that's a very painful experience, but the reason that it's happening is because there's some sort of stagnation, there's some sort of shift that needs to happen to remove the stagnation, because in stagnation you just get more trouble, you get disease, you get ill, and that's not the point of our journey here as human beings on Earth. And I don't mean that there's never any resting points, but these resting points are to be productive, you know, so that you're getting ready for that next in breath. And I will talk about the in and out breath of the even and odd numbers. Yeah, keep in mind that 5 is a in breath, so you know, you're getting ready to go, and then that out breath will be those even numbers, which will be more restful. But remember that growth is a constant, and that we constantly need to be growing and learning in our life here. So if in a relationship, cups, we're not growing and learning, then it becomes stagnant, and that's when the 5 comes in and would ask for that to be reassessed. There's other numbers that have a similar energy as well, which we will move on to, but also in every element you're going to see this pattern come up. For example, with the swords, if your thoughts are just repeating themselves, they're going in circles and you're not learning anything, you're not growing within the mind space, then you're going to experience problems there, troubles there. Things can come up, mental health problems, for example. Again, with the Pentacles, you're going to have problems with money. If you're not growing, if you're not learning, then you're going to start being challenged in that department. You know, we're here to really go through the cycles and experience many different array of experiences and emotions. And as much as we'd all love to stay on those high moments, those 9 of Cups moments, and just hold on to that forever, but we can't. You have to go through the process and the cycle of life that comes with that. So one of those is going through the shifts and the changes with the 5s that can bring heartbreak, but it's making way for you to get to that 9 of Cups, to get to that 10 of Cups, because if it wasn't making way for that, then you wouldn't have an all-round experience and you wouldn't be learning much, would you? Just remembering as well that when you see this card, to not get too heartbroken or fearful, just to know that there is these 2 cups behind him still something to look forward to that's coming. It's just, yeah, you're focusing on the loss right now, but the 5 is bringing in the change for the good. You gotta know that and trust in that. And then lastly, we have the 5 of Pentacles, which is a very sad card. Again, you have the poor mother, the disabled child, and then you can see that they've been locked out of this spiritual building, church. So, and they're obviously poor, so they're disconnected from spirit, and they're also disconnected from abundance. And obviously the Pentacles represents our physical manifestations here in this experience. So you have all of your possessions and your wealth. So if we're looking here at the 5 of Pentacles, it can be a horrible card to get this. Obviously you think, oh God, like if you're asking a question about your business, and then you know, this is the overall energy of the reading, it's not going to feel good, is it? But you got to think again, it's a 5, so what is this bringing in? Okay, yeah, the business is probably going to fail, the business is probably going to crumble and go broke, and you're going to go through a few shifts and changes, but what is this going to bring in the long run? It's going to bring the new cycle in, because it's the end of this mini cycle. The end of this cycle, but obviously it's the 5, it's not the 10, which is the ultimate end of a big cycle. But I feel like it's that halfway point where it's like, this isn't working anymore, and it's a big push and shove into the direction that you need to go. And that's something about 5s, is 5 energy is just kind of like, this is how it is, you just got to go for it and go with it, and you don't really have a choice, you know. Here, this will make you realize, okay, this isn't working, I'm not in a place where I'm bringing in abundance and manifesting that. I'm not in a good place where I feel connected with spirit, connected with my higher self, feeling like a victim. And again, similar with the swords, but the swords is more in your mind and the way you're thinking. This is actually manifesting into a physical reality. But you also got to remember that the Pentacles is the last cycle as well. So the first cycle is the swords and air, and then the last cycle is the Pentacle, because the Pentacles are earth, and earth is the last process of the elements, you know. It's the last is the physical manifestation happens, is complete, and then that's earth. I will go deeper into these cycles of the elements when we talk about the number 1, but in the brief, we start with the swords because that's the idea. Then we go on to the wands because that's the action, the conception. Then we go on to cups, which would then be the womb and the creation. And then, of course, we finish on the pentacles, which would be the physical manifestation. And here, that's why you will experience probably the worst of the 5, because it's actually like physical loss of things, like loss of what I've built, loss of my connection, loss of everything here, and I'm here in the physical and I'm so unconnected. But also, is it because you became too driven by your own senses? Maybe what you was doing here in the physical before you pulled this card was like all driven by your own senses, you know, and that was your drive. It wasn't driven by spirit. It wasn't driven by like a divine sense of gratitude. If you're not driven by the divine, if you're not driven by real reason why you're doing something, if there's not pure love behind what you are doing, if you're just driven by your human desires that you want because you want to be greedy for you, or you want to have more than the rest, or you want to fulfill your human senses and desires rather than fulfill your purpose here, fulfill other people by form of service. So if you're doing something like, because you know what, if I create this, yeah, I can make a lot of money, awesome, but you know what, it's gonna help so many people, and that would be me providing so much amazing service to the people of the world. Like, you need to be connected with that sense of, because when you do something for spirit, you do it for oneness, you know, as well. So it's like, I'm doing this because it doesn't just benefit me. But if you get to a place where it's like you're actually not benefiting others, you doing it for lower desires, for your senses, to fulfill your own human senses, then you are gonna get to this point where that's gonna be pulled away from you, because that can't last forever. Because remember that the universe will give to those who give, and because it's like a mirror, you know, and the universe will take from those who take, you know. I know that is a big statement to make, and it is just in reference to the card and to make sense of what I'm trying to say here. But do remember that abundance can mean many things for many different people, and what fulfills one will not fulfill another. And that's the beauty of the fact that we've all come in as these different streams of light, these different consciousness streams. So you might look at one person's situation and think, God, they don't have a lot. Oh, those poor people, those poor souls. But maybe they're really happy. Maybe they have everything they need. You don't know because you're not walking in their shoes. So I just wanted to say that in case people were sort of confused about it. So it will catch up with you, even if you think, well, I'm doing that and that's not true for me. Well, it will catch up with you in some sense, because you'll get to the end of your cycle, you'll reach this 5 point, and maybe it's not reaching you yet because you're still going through the sword cycle, you're still going through the wand cycle or the cup cycle. Eventually when you're on your last cycle of minor arcanas in life, you will get to that 5 of Pentacles, and it hurts. Like, you know, I've been there. It's a lot to go through. It's a lot to realize, but you need it, you know. It only sets you back on track of why you're really here, and reconnects you with oneness being spirit, and oneness also because people are the reflection of spirit, you know. So how we treat each other is how we treat spirit, how we treat ourselves. So just always remember that, especially when it comes to this 5 of Pentacles. So to get out of that 5 of Pentacles energy, you want to embrace change. You want to go, you know what, let it all fall away, let it go, because it's not serving others, it's not serving me anymore. And that's the truth of it. Then when you let it go, you're going to get a divine inspiration of what's next, because the 5 is the end of one cycle, but it makes room for those new ideas to be inspired again. So once you reconnect, when you think of the 5-pointed star, and then you've got your head up and connected, then you're gonna get that divine inspiration, and then you'll see like the 6 of Pentacles. Yeah. Then when you accept that, when you move on, you'll see on the 6 of Pentacles, you've got that generous handout coming, you know. You will be served back, or you need to be that one giving the service, because that's how it is. It's that mirror reflection. How what you put out, you get back. That is reminding you, you've got to a space where you forgot about this. You forgot about the laws of the universe. You forgot about why you came here. And you forgot about your service. Even be like, are you doing a disservice to yourself? It doesn't have to be, you can be your own mirror. So it doesn't even have to involve others, but often it does, because this is the realm we're in. But I'm not talking about 6s, but it's just, there we are. So that will be 5 in the tarot and my opinions on it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that it made sense, because I know it's all over the place. But yeah, thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any more things you'd like to add about 5. I'd love to hear them down below, and also let me know if you would be interested in me doing more numerology videos. I'm not sure if it's really gonna be popular one, but I really like to use numerology within my practice, and I'm happy to share and expand more on the other numbers. So I hope that you're having an amazing day, and I send in all my love, and I will see you soon.